Hello, and welcome to Ensemble Conversations. My name is Mark Kilmurry, Artistic Director of the Ensemble Theatre, and over the coming weeks we're talking to some very special guests, having some conversations with them. And our first very special guest is the very special Georgie Parker. Hello.
Hello, how are
I'm
you?
very good. How are you, Georgie?
I love seeing you on the camera.
Thank you. Thank you. I painted this morning. It's yeah. How's
Did you like?
isolation?
I'm really enjoying it, I have to say.
All
Don't
right.
know, but I think it's the peace and quiet. I've never gotten to stop before, and I was saying to my husband that wouldn't it be great if I could just take some time off?
Yeah, right. Be careful what you wish for. Hi. Yeah, I know. None of those emails coming in anymore, or lots of phone calls. It's like, oh, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, we have some questions that people have asked through our website and Facebook page. So, you ready for a few questions?
Oh yeah, lame on me. I mean, are these all questions that you have for me, actually? Did you finally write down all the
Yeah,
questions?
that's right. I wrote them down. Yes. Where's that $5 I lent you for that flat white in 19? No. The first one is. Do you have a way, a trick? I'm just reading this from my thing that helps you get back on track if horror you forget your lines on stage.
Um, I I have missed entrances, but I haven't forgotten my line.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, when you miss an entrance, it's like it's some kind of fresh hell. So, but I haven't missed lines. But what has happened is other actors I've been working with have missed their lines, and so you just got to go with it. You do a topsy-turvy way of very quickly going, we need to get that information out, but we've jumped 3 pages ahead. So I've got to ask him a question or her a question that will get them back, so then you have to think on your feet. I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoy it when mistakes happen because it really does wake everyone up. It usually happens either in the very early part of the run or at the end when you get a bit complacent.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes, I remember we did Rabbit Hole together, and I think I remember a few times we stared at each other thinking,
Yeah,
who's speaking next?
turn to interrupt me or do I interrupt you?
That was from Regina, and from Jenny.
Yeah.
What are your memories of school performances? Is that where your love of theatre started? You were in the Mikado. She remembers you doing that. But what was the spark there? Was that where you thought, I want to act?
Yeah, I think it became very clear to me when I was 9. I auditioned for the school pantomime, and at that stage, I couldn't read a clock properly. I didn't remember the order of the months, and my mother was very concerned because if I was interested in something, I just could not apply myself.
Yeah.
And the headmistress luckily said to Mum, "She's a free spirit, and when she finds something she loves, she'll be fine." So luckily, about 4 weeks later, I got given a play. I learnt everyone's lines in like 10 minutes, and I got the part. And
Wow.
I felt so at home on stage, and not because, I mean, there's this misconception that actors like to show off, but
Yes, that's
there's
right.
very few actors that you know, uh, are extroverts. I mean, I'm extroverted, but most actors, I think, are introverts. So I just love the sense of telling a story with a group of people on stage and creating a, a what if scenario for the audience to invest in for a couple of hours. So, and from there, actually, I ended up doing a lot of plays, not only at Abersley, but actually down the road at Knox. And it's
Hmm.
there that I first did Shakespeare with a brilliant teacher called Turnbull, Mr. Turnbull.
Right.
And I played viola on Twelfth Night, and it was a revelation. That that process was a revelation to me.
Yeah. And that's where you thought, I can do this.
I thought I want to do this.
Yeah. 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 Right.
I was
They,
dancing a lot of the time as well, so I
yes, of
thought
course.
maybe we can just do them all together.
Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that you get that one or two, those teachers or the people in your life that
Yeah,
encourage you to do something and give you that idea that you're capable of something, and then that can change your life completely.
absolutely. And the lessons that you learn, the things that they do stay with you.
Yeah,
And they really do become like a bit of a blueprint for how you start out and how you see yourself as an actor.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Now, there's a question here which I quite like. Linda asks, when you're playing a role that's a darker role, for instance, in Rabbit Hole that you and I did, which was a very traumatic subject matter, and then most recently you did Luna Gale, does that role follow you home? Do you take anything from that? Does it affect your everyday life? And how do you shake it off?
Yeah, no, okay, yeah. Well, I understand that. It's a very interesting thing because I think when you're doing a play, it becomes a muscle memory. If you're doing a film, it's easy just to invest yourself 1,000% and then drop it. But to revisit it 8 times a week and to create that world and where it has to be authentic. So I don't have any trouble shaking it off, I must admit. I think the bigger the character and the bigger the stakes, the easier it is for me to jump in and jump out. Because when you jump in, you're on a moving train. And then when you get out, I like being able to look at it and go, wow, that was a good show, or did you hear the audience gasp on that? Or so I myself don't have any trouble stepping out of it.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the process of creating that bubble and creating that world and then letting it sit and breathe. And then when you do the show, you step into it. And then at the end, you can step out of it. And then, but sometimes I think if it's been a very emotional night, I don't get upset by it, but I really do. It's exhilarating, actually.
Yeah.
Because the job, the story is hitting the places where it needs to hit.
Yeah, that's right. I can understand. But I feel that sometimes when you do the darker a role, the more relieved and happy you are once you've finished.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I mean, when we rehearsed in Luna Gale, and I remember in Rabbit Hole, I mean, we were ripping shreds off each other.
Hilarious. It was hilarious.
And then when you're backstage, you're mucking around like crazy children because it's the counterbalance for the drama.
The release,
and so it's a way of letting everyone know, hey, it's okay, I don't mean it. When I shout at you and say I hate you, I really love you.
Yes, well, that's right. And I remember being asked once when I was acting more in a foyer, a friend of my wife's asked me, do I shout like that at home? And I'd been playing this mad psychiatrist. And I said, no, that's acting. But it's interesting that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and then you've got to think, well, I must have done a good job if they think that's what I'm like off stage. Yeah,
that's true, yes. Now, there's a question from Serena. She's just asking, there's a couple of questions, but what's your favourite play you have performed? I know that's a difficult one. But and how did you first become involved with your long relationship with the Ensemble Theatre?
Okay, well, I wanted to do my work experience at the Ensemble, and that was when Hayes was there. And I did, and I was seduced by the way that the theatre focused purely on acting and storytelling, and it wasn't consumed by the vanity that it is to be a member of a theatre company. And I mean, I think there's a lot of, I mean, I don't want to sound ungenerous, but it's, with the Ensemble, you really get the feeling that it's about the plays and about the audience and about creating as exciting and as an authentic experience for the audience as possible. And I just feel like, the motivation from the Ensemble is in the right place in regards to the audience. We're not trying to teach them a lesson. We're saying, if you're going to take the time to come out of your home, we're going to make it worth your while.
Yeah, great.
And and I really got the feeling of family. And I love the intensity of the space. I mean, it's a very intense space to work in as an actor. And I dig that. Yeah. I love the pressure that it creates. I like it. I enjoy it.
And the intimacy of the audience is you feed off that energy. Actually, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's how they're hugging you. And then what I did was I volunteered as an usher and worked behind the bar when I was 16, 17. I did that for a year and a half. And then I left school and went on my way. But then when I was leaving All Saints, I got to, and you had gone back to England for a bit or something, and Sandra asked me, would I like to come do chapter 2, Neil Simon Project. So I did that, and that was my first play at the Ensemble, and I was pinching myself the whole time.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing. 40 to go back to the place where I was at 17, where a lot of my aspirations were fueled.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I remember that feeling of going to the ensemble for the first time and having that idea of coming home. It's all about the work, and thinking, oh, this is incredible. This is like being somewhere where it's as you say, not the ego. It's just about
Story.
doing the play, and everyone was lovely and friendly and welcoming, and
Yeah,
Sandra was fantastic to work
yeah,
with.
and I think the space creates that kind of ethos because there's no room really for anything other than actors telling the story and the audience.
No.
So it's like there's no room for anything else to get in the way.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Now, it's interesting because on television you tend to be in more of a dramas
Mm.
with All Saints and with Home and Away now, and on stage you've tended perhaps to do more comedies, apart from the ones we've just talked about. Do you choose your plays carefully? Do you think actually I need to do something lighter to counterbalance what I'm doing in the day?
Well, I think All Saints was definitely a drama.
Yeah,
Home and
yeah,
Away not so much because it's a classic soap.
yeah.
So and I think a lot of it is geared around the younger actors. So I'm really one of the senior cast members, um, sort of felicitating. Did I just make that word up?
I think it's a good word though. Just go with it.
I,
I'm going to
I
use
think
it. I think
I'm gonna, yeah, and it's yours. I'll lend it to you.
felicitating things. I think
Um,
it's actually a word. Who knows? We'll look it up later. The top team, we're looking it up now.
we help tell the stories for children. No, so when I do a play, and often I'm talking about it with you,
Mm,
I just want a really good play. I mean, because it's all about the writing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if it's comedy or drama. If it's a good play and the text is strong,
yeah,
then it's going to be a great night, whatever.
yeah,
I must admit, I do like the drama for flexing that muscle, and
yeah.
the investment is electric. Um, and also, if it's a really good drama, there are comedic moments in there anyway.
Mm,
Um, and sometimes I find them easier to play. I find comedy, unless it's Neil Simon, because he delivers everything to you on a platter.
yeah,
Uh, I can find comedy harder to map out. Um, but I got to say, as long as it's a good play, as long as it's well written and the cast is good and you can trust each other, I'll turn up for anything.
that's right. But well, I was thinking, television and theatre gives you a different uh, way of working.
Yeah.
What is that for you? What's the sort of key things that you think about when you're in front of a camera and then in front of an audience? What's the difference for you?
Okay, so with theatre, it is a fully physical experience.
Yeah,
And the beautiful thing that, like a painter, you get to create the whole picture in one sitting. And with TV, you really have to do your homework, figure out exactly where you are in the storyline because you shoot everything out of sequence. So you have to. It's much more cerebral process because you have to constantly imagine how a scene might have been played, look at who's in it, think if they're going to change their lines, and then you've got to protect your character as much as possible so that you don't look like a fool if you overinvest in something, but then it's underplayed by other. So it's a much more it's not an intellectual process, but you've got to really map it out and do your homework with TV and film.
yeah,
Um, and I enjoy the technical aspect of it's really more about what you're thinking than what you're doing.
yeah, yes,
Also, TV, you're speaking your subtext a lot of the time. So you've got to create things for you to play. Whereas in theatre, you're saying something but you mean something else. So or you're hiding how you really feel about something. But in TV, we tend to pass the story along quite quickly. So therefore, we're saying the obvious thing. So then what you've got to do is actually find a way to to lay a subtext under the spoken subtext, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and was there anything in theatre when you were in your early days that you saw or that influenced you? I remember going to see a play at the
Yeah.
Belgrade Theatre in the United Kingdom in Coventry and being blown away by the sophistication. I thought, that was there on the stage. Little did I know. But, you know, that front of how on earth did they do that, and how powerful it came across, thinking they're putting the story across and acting and talking to each other. But what's backstage? I remember thinking, what's behind the veneer, in a way? Was there anything that struck you?
Well, how old were you when you saw that?
I was about 8.
Oh, darling.
I know. I know.
I was in England, and I went to
Right.
Stratford-on-Avon.
Ah,
This is the piece that, you know, and I was 13,
yeah,
and I saw Othello by the Royal Shakespeare Company.
yeah.
And it was Donald Sinden, who is clearly not a black actor.
No. God.
However, he was fantastic. And Susan Bertish, is that her name? Bertish?
Yeah.
Bob Peck is Iago.
Ah, Bob Peck, yes. Wonderful Bob Peck.
My God. And this was at the stage where Shakespeare was like, you know, trying to read Egyptian hieroglyphics. So
Yeah.
it didn't make sense to me. But however, when I was watching that in the audience, I understood everything they were saying. I understood exactly the impact that it had on the other actors. And the story was crystal clear, and I could not have been more invested.
Yeah.
And
Clarity.
it was an epiphany. Yeah, I definitely had an epiphany. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I think I doubled down on the fact that's what I want to do.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And you've been in the ensemble over the years in many different productions. What are your favourite parts about doing that? What are your favourite moments about being there, even?
Well, I think. Well, I loved doing Chapter 2 because it was the first play I did there.
Yeah.
I loved doing Rabbit Hole with you because it was. I mean, I loved acting with you. I liked doing a drama with you, actually. We could play. I think we found a way to play with it. We trusted each other. And that writing by David Lindsay Bear, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, wonderful.
I mean, beautiful writing.
Yeah.
And that great, you know, relationship writing where people know each other and they have similar pain, but they're seeing it from different points of view. And I really enjoyed the process of doing that with you. I loved Luna Gale because the stakes were high. It was a strange world, and it was a very traumatic world. But I think the playwright, Rebecca Gilman, just handled you so well. And the audience, even though it was confronting for them, especially the ensemble audience, they felt because she managed to tell the story with honesty, but also it's like these people are real, and you probably know someone like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be a very rewarding experience. And then I did love. I've done a couple of David Williamsons there, which were just so. I mean, that was a revelation because in the rehearsal room, David Williamson's plays, it's like I'm not quite getting a rhythm for this. I can't find it because he's so specific in the way he writes. And it's not until you get in front of an audience that you understand how he sets things up and how they pay off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really enjoy that process. And then Murder on the Wireless was so fun last year. I mean, it was so fun to play with a sold-out crowd.
Well, yes, writing as we go. That was like the old days of Saturday Night Live, or that sort of reminded me of the old television that you open one version of the play, and by the end of the run, we had a completely different version. I remember going in every day, cutting reams of dialogue, saying, "We're doing this version." You go, "Hold on a minute, I need my pen," and nipping next door into your dressing room, coming out, "What is it?" And refining it. It was great. It was interesting, though, wasn't it? An interesting process of, as you were just saying about the David Williamson, of what an audience gives you. It was. I thought it was fascinating. Of, oh, okay, this needs to do this because of that's what we're feeling from the performance the night before, and so we shaped it. I was much happier by the last few weeks than the first two. And not having said that, it worked on its own level, but in terms of your own satisfaction, I think we enjoyed ourselves more. I think once we started to enjoy it more.
Yeah, and we tailored it to the audience as we went.
Yeah.
Because you find it's definitely. I mean, they were our sounding board. So you know, I found it was a very interesting process, and I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
It was fun. There's a question here which I quite like. This is from Paul John. I presume he's Scottish. He was wondering if you've ever done a Scottish accent in a play or on television, and what's your thought on accents?
Well, I've never done a Scottish play, I'm sorry, I've never done a Scottish accent. I've never done an Irish accent either. Actually, um, I find accents, unless you can do them really well, can get in the way. Because when you're acting, the last thing you should notice is, oh my gosh, she's doing an accent.
Mm.
Um, and so I try to find as neutral an accent, unless I'm totally confident. I try to find a neutral way of doing that accent so that it's not distracting. Because yeah, I mean, I find that would take months to perfect, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I would want to take months to perfect it, because it shouldn't be a distraction when Georgie Parker
Mm.
opens his mouth as Jean Brodie.
Mm. Yeah. That's a great role. You should do that. Right? Prime Minister Jean Brodie. That's
Soft accent.
That's Scottish. That's right. I find sometimes with accents, I think, particularly with the American, it's deceptive because I think we all think we can do an American accent,
Yeah.
but there's those parts of it that are really quite tricky when it becomes everyday speech, as it should be in a play. And I find that I slip out of it easily, too easily sometimes. And when I hear myself back, I think, oh, I thought I was hitting all those
Yeah.
hard R sounds, and then I'm not.
Yeah, no, that was I found the Luna Gale accent very hard because it was very hard on, very
Yeah.
very rounded, very whereas I find a New York accent relatively easy because it's much more open, and maybe I was exposed to it more through movies and stuff. But
Mm.
a Southern accent's hard. I had to do a Texan accent or a Midwest accent in Crazy for You the musical.
Oh yeah.
Hard, and the only way I could get into it was by introducing my character, and her name was, "Hi, my name's Polly Baker," and I often err into the South, but she's actually in Midwest, and it's very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, right. That's a really way of doing it. I remember trying to pass by in everyday life with an American accent to try and if I could convince the shopkeeper I was fluent but I lost my nerve, and also it made me more conscious. But also there's a difference, I think, with an accent on stage
Yeah,
convincing in a play to in life. I often say the accent should be enough for the stage version. You don't have to pass by every day in life as convincing
yeah.
someone you're American, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Or
I
maybe
used
that's just my lazy way of looking at it.
No, you're cutting corners, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
No, I remember when my friend and I wanted to get into an R-rated movie called Cat People because I
Oh
was
gosh.
Malcolm down, and my genius idea, which worked, was, hey, if we put on an American accent, they're going to think we're older. So we put on an American accent, and we got into the movie.
That's brilliant. Well, when I tried to get into Enter the Dragon and Freebie and the Bee in 1970, I thought a great idea was to get my mum's eyeliner pencil and pencil a little moustache on myself so I looked older than 15. And on the bus on the way in, my friend decided to go like that. So I only had half a pencil moustache. Needless to say, none of us got in. So American accent might have been a better idea.
Yeah, and you also wouldn't look very young when you were 15.
No, I looked about 10 with a pointed moustache. You just mentioned musicals there because you've done musicals. You sing and dance too. Is that something that you enjoy doing, and would you like to do more of that sort of work?
Musicals are so hard. I mean, they feel it, and you keep on thinking, I'm going to have all this time off during the day, and you spend your time recovering from the night before and getting for the next evening.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think now that I'm older, the last big musical I did was Crazy for You, and that was 3 hours of George Gershwin, which was heaven.
Yeah.
But an 11-minute dance routine to I Got Rhythm, and it was tapping, and I was lifted up and things, and I was singing the whole song, and it was the most exhausting thing I've ever done on stage. And whilst I loved it, and it's a treasured experience. I'm not in a rush to go back to a musical. Not in a rush. But having said that, I could see myself at like 65 going on and doing the scene as the mother in, what is it? Sound of Music.
Yeah.
And I can sit there in a chair and I can sing a couple of lines of a song and go off and sit in my dressing room and listen to it.
great. Or you could do Gypsy and belt out that role.
Okay.
You wouldn't be sitting in your dressing room there.
Yeah, that role's too big.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? And just touching on that, Georgie, before I let you go, how do you see yourself in the future? I mean, you're enjoying doing your TV work now, obviously, and doing your theatre. Is that a great, comfortable balance for you?
It's a very comfortable balance. Yes, I mean, I love it, and I don't take it for granted that I have the choice to do both. I'm extremely fortunate. I don't have a regular actor's life in Australia or anywhere, so I consider myself extremely lucky that I can have a foot in both worlds. However, I do definitely see myself doing more theatre as I get older. That's what I want to do. It was always my first love, theatre, and it will definitely be my last love.
You said something very interesting that I thought was really a great thing to say. You were talking about ambition, and you said, paraphrasing it, you probably said it much better than I'm about to, but that you were ambitious for yourself, but not for getting on. It was more ambitious for what you wanted to do in terms of work, rather than ambitious in being more famous or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm strongly motivated as far as my work ethic goes, but I don't really care how I appear within that. Like, I'm not attached to any image of myself. I think that's the death of an actor, frankly. I don't cultivate a glamorous image. I generally go out of my way to appear as much of myself as possible, so that when I go into a character, I've got somewhere to go. And having said that, it's much easier to create character on stage than it is on TV, because TV's here, and TV, wants to see you. And often with TV writing, they don't write the big characters. It's always much closer to life, and on stage you can jump further afield, and I really like that leap.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great talking to you. It'd be great to actually be in the same room together eventually. Well, hopefully everybody will be. Our audiences are coming back hopefully eventually, and they're donating their tickets, which is absolutely wonderful. Everybody that's donating the ticket means we can be here in the future. It's keeping us buoyant and keeping us here. I really look forward to being with you in the foyer, rehearsal room, on stage soon.
Rehearsal room, let's do it.
Oh, Georgie, sorry, we got some live questions. Sorry, I forgot. I was just going to let you go and go away. Good grief. Good job. I have people who know what they're doing here. Yes, okay. And here's the first question, Georgie.
So we've got 4 questions.
4.
This is from Melissa.
From Melissa.
What is the funniest, unexpected thing that has happened during a live theatre performance?
Okay, so this is very easy. I was doing Crazy for You with Todd McKenny, and I was just on stage for a 7-minute dance routine where we dance all around the stage. I'm doing huge fan kicks. I've got a dress that when I spin, it goes out like that, like right out. And so I had blue sort of satin shorts on, because you saw my underwear. Anyway, I had to run off stage and do a quick change, where she pulls off my my overall, and I put the dress on and go out for the 7-minute dance routine. Anyway, in that quick change, unfortunately, my boxer shorts came off. So I put the dress on and I go out, and Todd and I start talking, and I'm thinking, my dress feels very close to me tonight. And then I sort of feel on my thigh for the edge of the silk boxer shorts, and they're not there.
No.
And I was like,
oh
so
my God.
I start to dance, and I'm dancing with Todd, and we're very close, and I say, I don't have any underwear on. And he went, oh yeah. And I went, no, I don't have any underwear on. And so then he went, right. And thank God I was with him, because he's the most supportive partner. And this huge dance with a huge waltz became a very polite 2-step.
Yeah.
And at the end, the audience usually went, woo! And this time they went,
Yeah.
that is by far the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me.
Absolutely. Can't get worse than that, I don't think. Brilliant.
So Christopher Allen has said that he remembers Georgie winning her Logies in 1990 and her string of Logies, and he notices they're on the shelf behind her. There's a Logie sitting up there. But
Yeah,
he's more interested in your cat on the bed. What's your cat's name?
That cat He's Pooh Bear. And my security detail, he goes everywhere I go. Wherever I am, he's there staring at me or lying down and waiting for me to move somewhere else. And he's a ragdoll.
How many Logies have you won, Georgie?
7.
And we've got a question from Trent. And
Yep.
Trent's question is, do you see digital broadcasting of live performances as part of Australia's arts future?
Digital performances of like a play.
Yeah, I think that's what it's meant. Yeah.
I think, why not? If you're going to reach more people, and it ends up being a great calling card for the theatre anyway. I always enjoyed the BBC productions of Shakespeare, and I found it really interesting seeing a theatrical performance caught on camera, because it's another way of experiencing it.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think it hurts. I would like to see it more as a way of funneling people back to the theatre.
Yeah.
I think it's another way of reaching an audience.
Yeah. And it might be the future with who knows what's happening with this latest virus, but it might be a bit of live streaming as well as live performance, easing people back into being
Exactly.
used to going into the theatre. So we'll see.
I mean, I'd love to do a play reading with you.
Yeah, we'll do one. Okay, you heard it here first, folks. We'll find something and we'll do a play reading on Zoom live with Ben filming us. Good.
We have one more.
We've got one more.
This is from Melly.
One more.
And Melly says, what do you look for, Georgie, in theatre roles? Is there something the women you play have in common?
I think I can safely say there is nothing they have in common, and that's what I look for. I really want to be stretched. I mean, I use theatre as a way to explore other parts of what I think I can do. And the more uncomfortable I am, the happier. I like to climb a mountain. I really do. It's just the way I'm made. And the higher the mountain, the more you work. And I love the work that goes into it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember being on stage doing Richard III thinking, why the hell did I think I'd be able to... Just went through my mind.
Good. I mean, you know...
Sweltering.
I know that, you know, and I think the same. I think most actors like to be stretched and they like to be out of their comfort zone.
It's true. I think that's absolutely true.
Your best work, especially if you've got a good director and you trust the director, you know you're in safe hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Georgie,
we should do a play reading.
we will. Thank you.
Anyway.
Thank you for joining us today. It's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you, everybody at home, and for your questions and keeping this part of the conversations with going. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll do a play reading.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about it.
Thank you,
Bye.
Georgie. Thank you. Have a nice day doing whatever you're doing.
Patting the cat.